being disingenuous now. I asked him specifically from that video, just give me the source. Because it's like you telling me it says there, but I'm saying, where? Just tell me the reference. So he should have done, as other brother was here, I don't even know him, just quote me the verse, quote me the chapter. Simple. That's a reference. Not, oh, a random video on YouTube talks about it. This is not a source. Do you agree?
I asked you a question.
Right. Now I'm going to answer.
I didn't come for a debate.
Now I'm going to answer. Now I'm going to answer.
And now you've got the cameras.
He's happy. Do you know why? Do you know why I got the cameras? Because Christians' cameras are recording. I want to make it balanced.
Oh, okay, good.
That's all.
Good. So
if there's no cameras, I don't care. No cameras, no problem. So I'm simply asking you to see, because you've made a claim. Remember, I didn't make the claim.
I asked you a question.
Sure.
I asked you a question. I said I've researched, I've seen the research.
I want to know the research that you've done so that I can learn where the information you're getting this from is something is valid or not. Because you can just say, like imagine, I say, I've made research, and in this research, I found X, Y, and Z. You have all the right to ask me, but what is this research based on? Is it based on a proper methodological approach, robust sources and so on? If I was just quoting a random guy on the street, and he said so, that doesn't make it true.
Yes, they were circling the Kaaba. What does he want?
So,
he still has to answer the question.
So I'm asking
were they
you
doing
again,
it, yes or no?
Give me the historical references.
You want Islamic
How
resources?
long has the Kaaba been there?
The Kaaba has been there from day one when Adam built it, and it's been rebuilt many times.
And
you hear that?
One second.
The man said Adam built the Kaaba.
Before.
Where's your resources?
Before Islam was a thing,
right?
In the Arabian Peninsula, they were pagans.
No.
Come on.
They were pagans.
They were circling the Kaaba.
In the Arabian Peninsula,
so this is where this is where you're.
Right?
No, let me.
And they were worshiping a false god called Hebel.
Right.
Are you a Christian? Is he a Christian?
Yeah. Okay. So.
And he's getting cooked.
The Arabs of pre-Islamic Arabia.
Where's your proof?
They knew about Abraham.
Where's your proof?
Because Abraham came, and Hagar settled.
Where's his resource?
In Arabia.
Come on.
The water of Zamzam.
Right.
The well of Zamzam is from that time, from Ishmael.
Where's your source?
Right? Wait.
I got Google right here.
This is
Where's your source?
Islamic tradition.
It's
now,
Islamic tradition. Hear what he said. But he has no source.
If you are now talking about sources from secular tradition, I can then say, are you going to be consistent in using secular tradition as your sources? Do you agree?
No. It's called freedom of speech.
I don't speak to hecklers, I can speak to you. So, may I ask you once again? Do you accept secular historical traditions as your sources? Do you agree? Do you agree with relying on secular historical sources?
Where's your source?
Secular in what way? From a secular country?
Non-religious.
He won't give his sources. Where is your
non-religious sources?
That's what secular means.
Adam built the Kaaba.
Non-religious sources, historical sources. Do you agree that these are valid historical sources to use?
Sure. I know what you mean.
And the answer is, do you agree to use them?
But also, secular sources can come with the truth.
Sorry?
All secular sources does not mean all secular sources are false.
Wait.
They can also come with the
So
truth.
let's now talk about something very fundamental.
No.
Because I disagree with what you just said.
Let him run.
I disagree with what you said. Let me tell you why I disagree. Okay. Shall I?
No, please, because
the moment you become selective at your... Are you listening? Excuse me.
Let me go with you.
Excuse me. If you're going to have a conversation with him, you're welcome to go and have a conversation over there. But if you're going to have a conversation with me directly, don't listen to anyone else. Thank you. So,
and out of respect, I'm asking you, please.
I am responding. Because you said something which is very inconsistent. Your inconsistency is this. When you selectively choose historical sources, you pick and choose like a cherry picking. That is not. Wait. Okay, so let me ask you then. Historical sources. Historical sources are what? To give you an example, brother. If I asked you, If we want to know about history,
You wanted to debate.
5,000 years ago, say in Mesopotamia, what is our historical sources available for us to know? And how can we use these sources? In which methodology to know in a probabilistic way, because history is probabilistic, that these things occur. Now tell me
I want
that.
to expose you.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I was trying to stick to the original point on the secular sources. So
What's wrong with that?
Does it mean all religious sources are the truth and no secular sources are the truth?
No. So let me clarify. When it comes to historical sources, using the historical critical method, for example, secular, you can use the religious sources like religious books like the Veda, religious books like the Christian Bible or the Quran. These are religious historical texts. But when we're talking about to know about history, we need to have at our disposal some kind of source methodology in which we can, our brother, excuse me, please. We need to know how we can learn about history, right? Without being biased. So there is a tradition in the Western historians, they use the historical critical method, in which they will say, these methods gives us that this is what most probably that happened. They cannot say definitely, because history does not give us definitive knowledge. So if you now totally disregard secular history, then you're picking and choosing, cherry picking the historical method to arrive at the historical whatever thing happened, right?
No, because this has been blown out of proportion.
No, I'm going to the very fundamentals. These are the principles of knowledge.
I just asked you a question.
And the answer relies on how we approach history. So that's why I asked you. If we want to know about something that happened 5,000 years ago, would you agree? If the Veda tells us the history of China, it's acceptable to you? The Veda of the Hindu books. If the Veda, Veda, V-E-D-A, Veda. If the Veda, which is the religious book of the Hindus, right? Rig Veda, if it tells us about what happened in China 5,000 years ago, would you consider this religious text to give us this historical event that took place is correct?
Ask him which Quran.
Which Quran? Here we go.
Literally, which Quran?
Understand that he's just blown smoke.
Yeah, he is. Literally.
What do you think?
He's doing it for the views. He's doing it for the views. You're old, man. You're a dinosaur.
Use your brains.
They're getting cooked by
Use
the
your
young
God-given
ones.
intellect. Use your God-given intellect to have a conversation with me, rather than the heckler trying to do this.
Mansur, he's a kid. Why are you trying to bum him?
How old are you, by the way?
He's a kid. He's a kid. That's the kid.
How old is he?
He's a young boy.
24-year-old kid. Okay, I can speak to a 24-year-old kid, no problem.
Oh, you can?
Do you have a problem?
I know what you mean.
I can speak to a 24-year-old.
If they're six,
So Veda describing the history in China 5,000 years ago, would you accept that narration?
Arab news.
I know what you mean.
Arab
However,
news.
you're more inclined to believe your own religious
before
point.
Islam.
So now you're being biased to a religious text to know the history.
Arab sources.
Yes, exactly how you
Read it.
wrote with the Kaaba.
Iqra.
Wait. If you were going to
What was your
look,
Okay, 1 second.
Mansur,
What was
your
what was
response is
evidence
this?
for the Kaaba?
Your response is
Being circled
Before
by
Islam.
your response is it is okay to be
He's not answering
your
the question.
your your response is it's okay to have a bias to a religious text if you believe in a religious text. Is that what you're telling me?
Sorry?
Okay. Are you having difficulty listening because of all this distraction? Little bit? Don't tell them to stop heckling in your ears.
Speaker's corner.
But you have the right to tell them off.
Raise your voice.
You have the
You're a
right.
man,
You have the right to tell them.
Can you repeat again, please?
Okay. So
Mansur, you're a dinosaur.
when we talk about, for example, history of the Kaaba, the Hajj and so on, what I gave you, I said, from the Islamic tradition. Did I tell you that? Islamic tradition. This is what we consider to be what happened, because this is our tradition. If somebody says no, we disregard this tradition, we do not accept this tradition, then the questions come with methodology. Number one, why do you disregard our Islamic tradition? And what else do you have for these historical events? You have to justify both of them.
And I want to ask, where is the evidence for the Islamic traditions, the Islamic history? Where's the evidence from?
The Islamic text, Islamic sources.
So it's biased, right?
That's what I'm asking you. Do you agree? Do you agree? A religious history by the religious people,
Notice,
it is acceptable to the religious people themselves, right? Do you agree?
Not actually answering it. So
A
if you
religious
waste your
tradition
time,
is acceptable to the religious community.
You don't
Because
have to
for
stand
them,
there and hear him lecture you. That's what I'm saying.
because for them, this tradition or history is accurate and correct because it comes from God.
Exactly what I said earlier. With the, what was the religious text for the Indians?
The Veda.
The Veda, exactly. This is what I said earlier. If it was in the Bible, I would believe it. Because it's in a different religious text,
So
I'm
now-
more inclined to believe it.
Good.
Like, I have a different belief from the Bible to the Quran. You believe in the Quran that Jesus wasn't crucified. Well, I believe he was crucified.
So let's come back to the agreement then.
So
What we
this is
agree.
our agreement, yeah.
So what we agree is that our respective religious traditions we give preferences to.
Exactly. You
Right?
believe your traditions, I
Right.
believe mine.
So now, when there is a disagreement between historicity of an event, between our religious traditions, the question is, how do we resolve this matter? Tell me some criteria that we can use when there is a discrepancy between, say, Jewish, Christian religious tradition about a historical event and Islamic tradition between a historical event of the same event.
What I would use now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would use then a secular bit of evidence, something from outside, something that isn't Islamic, something that isn't Christian. I would use something like that. But earlier, you then said secular evidence, you can't use it.
No, I didn't say anything like that.
Yes, you did.
No, please listen carefully.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
I
You
did
said
not
that you
say
couldn't
anything
use
about
evidence.
secular evidence you cannot use or you can use. I didn't say anything like that.
Yes,
I was
you did say that.
establishing.
You did,
You
that's
liar!
for Gus.
You deceiver!
Look at the liars. It's all on tape. You can watch
so
it
for
later.
example, notice
Yeah,
he
you
had
can
an
watch it
entire
later.
tirade
So,
about secular evidence.
about secular
and how
evidence,
it was
here's my take now.
reliable, And how
Are you
it said
listening?
you should show priority
Are you listening?
to religious history.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you rely
So
on
secular-
any secular anthropology
secular
or
historical
secular sociology,
details,
or even outside
okay,
Islamic sources
there is-
to tell you that the Kaaba existed,
I
you would
cannot
actually be able to
talk
find this.
because I can't
The idea that the Kaaba is built by
focus on
Abraham
speaking to you.
is strictly
Okay?
a claim of Islam.
So
It
this is
not
the
a historical
inferiority
claim,
of
it is
Christian
simply
belief
a
system
claim
these
with
people
the
held,
actual
not you,
Islamic
these people,
corpus.
because
Now,
they feel
when
the
you have
Christianity will be
Vedas,
dismantled,
the Vedas
and
can
that's
make
why
claims.
they interject
Now,
in
if
every
the
single
Vedas make
conversation.
claims about
Do you want me to
India,
show you?
Then unless we can
Tens and
verify
tens of
these-
conversations
go
where they
ahead,
come and heckle?
Go ahead, show me.
Show us.
Do you know
And
what?
I will show him hundreds
It's all
where
there.
you've heckled. Go ahead. Bring it up. Bring us some
I've
evidence.
seen it.
of
I've
where
seen
you
it.
said.
Right.
I watch
That'd be great.
YouTube.
Right.
No,
So-
I see heckling from both sides. Everyone
Where's your
heckles.
sources,
Have you seen
Mansur?
me going and
Yes,
heckling a
I have.
conversation?
Let me show you. Let me show you.
Yeah?
Let me show you. A couple of years ago, a guy called David Lynn came here.
Have you seen me heckling a
Mini Mansur
conversation
got brave.
yourself?
So Mini Mansur wanted to go and heckle.
And what was the
let me
heckling
show you
conversation
heckling.
that I heckled?
I
You can't even
remember
remember.
exactly.
I'll show
Yeah,
you
you
right
can't
now.
I can't remember exactly. Of course. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast.
Okay, that's your problem, not mine.
As you can see,
No, that's
as
your
you can
problem.
see, this is Mini Mansur with his mouth open, yelling at a preacher for no apparent reason. Now, the preacher left the park. He went outside. Guess who followed him? Minnie Mouse Mansur. As you can see, he is outside. And Minnie Mouse Mansur decides that he is going to come
Are we going to have a conversation, or are you
Minnie
going to listen
Mouse
to this
Mansur.
lies
Minnie
and
Mouse
distortions?
Mansur left this corner.
He's talking, so
Minnie Mouse Mansur.
So when he finishes,
when you're talking, I
outside,
listen.
can you move a little bit? So when he finishes, come back and speak to me.
leave,
Right.
go outside, and then heckle the pastor. And as you can see, here is Mansur. And in fact, Mansur was so belligerent that Mansur claimed that the pastor should give him his whole mic. So Mansur came over here, he's yelling at the pastor's turning away from him.
So
and Mansur's
you were listening
heckling.
quite carefully.
So Mansur,
Those of you who are
you're
listening,
a tiny hypocrite.
quite
If you claim you don't heckle, you engage in the break lily. Right here.
okay.
It's on video.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you've been
Excellent
exposed,
question. Let me
Judas,
give some room.
let's run
Sorry.
away.
I said clearly here,
Hey.
when we have conflict between historicity of an event, between religious traditions, how do we resolve? How do we resolve? Say something about Abraham.